Hey bookworms!
I'm BookMouse.
And I'm BookKitty, and this is
Our
BookNook.
This week, we're going to be digging into After Dark by Jayne Castle.
Also known as Amanda Quick and New York Times best-selling author Jayne Ann Krinst.
I actually discovered the Ghost Hunter books quite some time ago, like several years ago. I found it by accident through my mom, of all people, and started reading the first book she handed me and fell in love with it. Not for the normal reason you would think. I fell in love with one particular character in the book and have read every book in the series and her other series since then.
Which character?
The Dust Bunny.
Of course.
So there is an animal. It's not a pet.
Not a pet.
Not a pet, but it's a companion. So it's a wild animal that's happened to be found on this world. It is described as a ball of lint tumbling across the floor.
With 6 legs and 4 eyes.
4 eyes. Now, the funny thing about these things, they're called dust bunnies because they look like something that rolled out from under the bed. And I fell in love with it because she gives personality to this little bitty thing. And I love the fact that it's supposed to be this harmless little thing.
Like a tribble.
Like a tribble.
It reminds me of tribbles. Until.
So normally it only has 2 eyes open. And they say, oh, it's so cute.
And I believe the eyes are blue at that point.
Yeah, they're bright blue. The expression is, oh, they're harmless. Until you see the second set of eyes. They're called their hunting eyes. And when those eyes open, evidently they sleek out and they become a predator.
With razor-sharp teeth and everything.
Yes.
They also say, once the teeth come out, it's already too late.
And I just thought that was amazing, that she gave so much time and information to this character. But overall, this book is based on another world. They are humans, they are colonists, and they have come to this world and set up a human colony. It's about 200-ish years old, so they actually don't know that much about the planet.
There's only 4 cities. They haven't even discovered, not even 50%, not even close to 50% of the world.
They're just fighting to survive on this world and get along, but there are alien ruins on the planet that they have no idea where they came from.
So far, no aliens.
No aliens.
There's just the dust bunnies, really.
And, there's some little bit of wildlife and everything, but for the most part, it's these people who have colonized this planet, and over the course of time of living in this environment that's infused with some kind of energy, they've evolved. And so different people have different abilities. And this book, would you call it a sci-fi paranormal romance murder mystery?
I think that covers all the bases. I wouldn't focus too much on the romance. There is some romance in there, but it doesn't shove it in your face.
No.
And it's just a part of the story. It's not the story. The story is trying to figure out this mystery.
And I enjoy the book series. I really do. She's taken this world. She's created this world. She's given it an environment. She's given it
history that we don't even know.
And you are learning about as much of the planet that the colonists know, because they don't know. So all you're learning is what the colonists have already learned. And I just found it really interesting that there's a thriving business in alien artifacts and archaeologists.
Shop of mystery.
Shrimpton Shop of Horrors.
Shrimpton Shop of Horrors, which of course is an homage to Little Shop of Horrors.
Yes.
But it's more like a Ripley's Believe It or Not kind of place. It's the feel I got from it.
And so, they found alien sarcophagi. They found alien jars and little pieces of pottery, but they haven't found an alien. They haven't found any bones.
Art. No art.
No pictures of the aliens.
Or their animals.
So not to give the story away, this book delves into, it's a mystery. Someone is murdered.
I mean, it
Why?
starts
It starts
with discovering the body, and I think every good story starts with a murder. I mean, honestly, it starts with a dead body, starts with somebody dying. Like, it just really gets you on the hook real quick.
So right off the bat, you're caught with who killed him, why did they kill him, why did they put his body there, how is she involved, how is he involved. It just captures you so quickly with the fact that it's not this happy romance. It's there's purpose to it. And the character's not a vapid little.
None of them are vapid.
Yes.
None of them. I don't want to give too much away, but there is an organization in the city that's much comparable to the mob, and even the mob's wife, the mob head's wife, isn't vapid.
No,
she's got serious substance.
Yeah, she's a strong, powerful woman in her own right,
doing her own things.
And I just found it really fascinating, the byplay between some of the characters. I just felt that Jayne Castle created an environment that it makes you want to know what happened to the aliens. It makes you want to know, well, how did the guild get formed? Why does it have mobster connotations? It makes you want to know more about this world.
And what is with the ghosts?
Oh my god.
Which are not really ghosts. Actually, it reminds me, because they kept describing it as acid green goo. It just keeps reminding me of Ghostbusters.
So you have little Slimers.
But they're little, like, balls of energy. They're called UDEMs.
Unstable dissonance energy manifestations.
Yes.
So I guess because of the ambient energy of the alien ruins, there's stray bits of energy that conglomerates and becomes dangerous. Humans are evolving to live in this environment, and so you have humans, hunters,
who can manipulate this energy
and de-res it,
yeah.
Which is basically they take the energy pattern apart and make it safe for someone to be in that area.
Because these ghosts are not harmless.
No.
Matter of fact, the first scene we see a ghost in this book, it kind of scorches the walls. So you kind of want to avoid it. And sometimes people will use that against you, and they'll try to trap you in a corner with it because you don't want to walk through it, or they'll actually physically attack you with it. But you really don't want to touch it. No. Because if it can scorch wallpaper, I can just imagine what it can do to your body.
Yeah. So I've actually read all the books in the Ghost Hunter series. I like the fact that there's a thread of continuity through them. You don't have to read every single book in the series. You can pick them up out of order. I mean, there is a little bit of an order to them, but you're not committed to that order if you want to read this book first or that book first. There's dust bunnies in every story.
Yay!
I'm sorry. I love the dust bunnies. So,
if I'm not mistaken, she writes for the different worlds under different names, but it's all linked.
They are linked. So, just a little bit of history. She writes a series of books called the Arcane Novels about a society that truly has psychic abilities. The Arcane Society was created to protect these individuals, train them, help them keep their business out of the news. Arcane actually shows up in her Harmony and her Ghost Hunter books. And it's just that little thread of what happens if you already have psychic abilities, come to another planet, and get affected by that planet's environment. What happens to your psychic abilities?
Apparently you get trappers and
tanglers
and ghost hunters.
And hunters. And you get all kinds of powerful things. But she has this intricate world built up of rules. I mean, it's not just, like we've talked before, we don't really care for when it's the all-powerful, I can do anything. She actually has rules to how the abilities work, how they're genetically passed on.
And how quickly you get exhausted from using them.
Yes. So it's not this...
Not just exhausted, aroused as well.
That was nice.
It's a little romance part.
But, you know, like BookKitty says with the world building, you have to be consistent. You have to put some thought into it.
You have to know the history even if your readers don't.
Right. And it has to be believable in that, in the back of our brains, yeah, this could happen. I believe this.
Oh, yeah, that sounds like humans.
Yeah.
Colonizing a new planet.
And just taking over. So, I really enjoy this book series. I have recommended it to many friends.
And I love that BookMouse recommended we read After Dark for this video, for this week. I would say that I read it in a day, but I had other responsibilities to do that day. So it actually took me over the course of 2 days. But if you took all the time together, it was less than a day. I just could not get enough of this world. I definitely plan on taking a look at least some of the rest of the series. I don't know if my time management skills can actually account for the entirety of all 3 series. But I definitely want to take a look at the rest of this world. This book... It, like I said, it grabbed me. There was all the elements that I like in a book. It's got purpose. It's got a clear storyline. It's got serious character growth between the 2 main characters, Emmett and Lydia. They definitely grow. Her views and her preconceptions are... challenged throughout the entire book. She's got this certain view on the guilds, which is the mob organization that I mentioned earlier. She's got this preconceived notion about the guilds and who runs them and who's working for them and what they're like, and some of the events in the book and some of the people she interacts with challenge that notion. And I love when I see character growth so much. And same with Emmett. I mean, he has a certain way of looking at things, and just being around her challenges his perception of the world as well, and the events of the story. It's got mystery, it's got intrigue, it's got a little bit of romance, a little bit of eroticism, a little bit of humor. Literally just a sprinkle of eroticism. Like, it's just enough to know that something happened and maybe some little details, but it doesn't span 6-7 pages. It's done in a page or 2. Like, it's not the main focus of the book.
It's tasteful.
It's very tasteful.
And she keeps that consistent within the whole series.
Good.
Each book, there is a bonding between 2 people, but it's not the overwhelming take over the story. There's all the elements are given equal treatment and fair treatment. And I think that makes for a book that can catch a variety of readers' interest.
That's why I like Lindsay Sands a lot. And her writing reminds me a lot of Lindsay Sands. Lindsay Sands writes a story called, or a series called the Argento series. It's about vampires, but not in the sense that you would imagine it. They're from Atlantis, not damned souls. And I won't go too much into it because I'm sure at some point we're
doing one of those books.
At least one of those books, because they can be standalone as well, but they also have a thread throughout. And I love when authors link their stories together, not just this happens, or this book happens, then this book happens, then this book happens. But when you have certain events in these books being referred to from the other books, and they're really carefully threading it through, they're including mystery and action and thrill and sex and love and
politics
and all of it. Honestly, it's an entire world. I mean, if you think about somebody's story, just 2 people that you know, their story is going to include some bit of every little piece, because that's what makes a story. It's everything surrounding the event that's happening. It's all the little pieces that made that thing happen. So I love when an author puts that much detail in, because it shows that they're really, really thinking and planning and really have a real story to tell. And it also tells me that they know more than they're telling. Yes. And I love that, because that means there's more to come. Yeah. I do have one critique about this book. There was a little bit of an inconsistency around the end of chapter 16 to chapter 17. It got a little confusing for me, because there was an advance made from one character to the other, and the advance was turned down, and there was a little bit of an argument. And then a character storms off to bed, and then the next morning she wakes up to a phone call, and then after the phone call she tells him about the phone call, and then he calls her a sex kitten, and they're just lightly joking about it, and it just didn't quite make sense to me, because they had just had an argument about it the night before and hadn't talked in between. There was no resolution to that, so I thought maybe there was something that was in there that was taken out, or maybe in the editing process. But if you can look past that, if you're not looking too closely, it's still doesn't really affect the whole story. It doesn't change what's happening in the story. It doesn't even really change the trajectory of their budding relationship.
Okay, so I can tell you every story cover to cover what happened. Mostly I remember all the Dust Bunnies' names. And
this one's Fuzz, by the way.
This one's Fuzz. So, you know, I won't tell you about Rose and Elvis and some of the others.
We'll save those for other videos.
Those are other books. But the fact that I can remember so much about the stories means that it had...
Especially with how much this woman reads.
Exactly.
I thought I read a lot.
I find that if I can retain that much information about the story, that I can overwhelm a friend with it while I'm telling them, you've got to read this book because this and this and this. It means that the story caught my imagination so well, it's embedded in there now. I'm never going to forget these books. All in all, I have to say, would you give this one 4 paws up?
Absolutely. 4 paws up.
Thanks for joining us. Next week, we're going to be doing something a little different. I'll let BookKitty explain.
So next week, well, this week I'm moving, and next week we're both going to be out of town for a yoga meditation retreat, and we desperately need it, especially with this move this week. So instead of doing our traditional video where we review a book that we've read, we're going to each take our own book with us on the trip, and we're going to do a video while we're there, so the quality won't be so great, just to give you a heads up. It'll be on my cell phone. We're going to do a video about traveling and reading, and a little bit about our adventure.
Yeah. So be sure to hit that subscribe button below so that you can catch our next video.
And if you want to know a little bit more about BookMouse and myself and what we're doing here and why we do what we do, go ahead and check out our video over here. And if you'd like to check out some of our own videos, I would recommend Necrotech down here. It was an awesome book by Casey Alexander.
This has been BookMouse.
And I'm BookKitty. And we're signing off.